Hi, it's Lou from Christian Faith and Fiction. I want to share with you today some Christian fiction books that I've been reading recently, what I thought of them, whether I thought they were worth reading for me or not, and whether or not you have the same taste as me. I hope I'll give a good enough description without giving too much information away to help you decide whether this is a book that you would like to read or not. If you have read any of these books and you'd like to leave me your spoiler-free comments down in the comments, I would love to hear from you. And also I would love to hear which was your favourite book that you read recently. Okay, I film these as a kind of vlog style as I'm going along so that I can remember what's been going on in the books as I'm going. So let's take a look at the books that I've been reading recently. I finished reading An Honourable Deception by Roseanna M. White. This is book 3 in the Imposters series. The Imposters series is a historical Christian fiction series that is following, it starts off with a brother and sister who inherit a title and lands and that, but no money. And so in order to pay their bills, they form this Imposters, which is a kind of private detective, private spy agency, and they keep their identities secret whilst still being a part of society in their sort of real life daytime job. This is a series that you really need to read in order because although each book has a mystery that wraps up and a romance that wraps up in each book, the sort of overall story does carry on from book to book. So you would partly be missing out on some information if you read this one first, and also completely spoiling previous books because it refers back to particularly book 1 in this story. This is following a side character from book 1 called Lavinia, who has some things that happen in book 1 which I'm not going to talk about, but she ends up sort of joining the team, and also Yates, the brother who is the initial member of the Imposters, he is also in this book. They are trying to follow a mystery involving a woman who comes to them looking for help to look for her Indian ayah. This is the lady that looked after her in India, I think it was, and she sort of filled the gap of being the mother for her. She was a bit like the nanny, I suppose, looking after her. But when they came back to England, she was sort of put out. But Lady Alethea kept in touch with her ayah, but then she goes missing. And so it draws the Imposters in to this. They get involved. They have to try and find out where this ayah has gone missing to. It takes them into some of the very seedy and gritty parts of London. Roseanna does a very good job, as always, of her writing style. She mixes the mystery and suspense with romance, with character development and some spiritual elements, Christian faith elements as well. As always, I really enjoyed her characters and I enjoyed her writing style. Most of the plot in this one was really great as well. There is a bit of a love triangle going on at one point, which is not my favourite sort of trope, and so that sort of took away from my enjoyment a little bit of the story, but that might be something that you really love, so take that as you will. I really liked all of the characters and I was rooting for all of them, so it was difficult to know who to root for in the story. And the suspense elements drew through the story. Of the whole series, I think book 2 was probably my most favourite one of all, and this was probably my least favourite, but that seems a bit unfair to say because I really enjoyed the whole series. So I would give this one 8.5 out of 10 for story enjoyment rating, and 2.5 or 2 out of 3 for Christian faith rating. When those moments come up, Christian faith is very strong, but it's not there the whole way through, but it does come up very strongly at different points through the story. I finished reading the last book in the Wing Feather saga, that is The Warden and the Wolf King by Andrew Peterson. This is I guess a middle grade series that has some faith elements to the book. It's fantasy. It is following 3 children from a family who are living in this world that has been taken over, a bit like in World War II, where Europe was taken over, but it's been taken over by fangs, who are these kind of creatures, monsters, who run the world now, and they're just trying to avoid getting caught by them and taken away, as some people are in this world. I'm not going to go too much into this book because it's book 4 in a sequential series, and I think this is meant to be the last book, but you'll see in a moment why I think it should not be. It is quite a chunker of a book. It's quite long even for fantasy novels these days, especially for middle grade. I think this series really ought to be a upper middle grade. So some of the content, there is violence in there, there is evil in there, there is evil characters, and throughout the series, this is kind of a spoiler, but I guess I'm not going to give too much away in details, but various characters do die in the books, so that is quite important to know, and there are some quite emotional parts to that. Yeah, I think if I was gonna give this to a younger person to read it, I might want to read it first, just to know what the content was like, because you only know for your own kids whether they're okay with that. I did find it quite emotional, this last book. I cannot tell you exactly why, because of massive spoilers through the book, but the book itself is continuing and summing up and bringing together the whole of the story throughout. It does follow different characters in different parts of the world and different parts of the story. I found the plot a little bit meandering, but on the plus side of that, there was a lot of twists that I just didn't see coming. Couldn't predict, because it's so sort of creative and going all in different places. So on the plus side, it's unpredictable. On the negative side, it's a little bit sort of all over the place. It didn't bring it all together in the way that I would like to see so much. So yeah, I really enjoyed it. I enjoyed the twists and turns of it. I enjoyed seeing different characters again. The ending is, if you've seen any of if you've seen any of the reviews for this book, or if you've read it, you will know that the ending has split people's opinions. And for me, I have mixed reactions to the ending. At one point, and in some ways, I felt it was really good and really emotional, and has some good allegory in there. And on the other side, I was like, it needs to be a couple more chapters long. Basically, I felt like it was a little bit too open-ended. I wanted to see things on the page. I felt like almost left it open for another book to be written as their continuing story afterwards. And so in my imagination, I've sort of continued on and finished the story as I wanted it to be finished. But I like to see it on the page rather than having to imagine it. So yeah, I both really enjoyed the book and the ending, but also was a bit frustrated. Yeah, I can't really say too much because it's such a big spoiler. But I would say it's probably, content-wise, 11 plus maybe for age group. It's hard to tell because I don't have children that age, so I don't have children. So yeah, it would depend on the kids themselves. But as an adult reading it was fine. It's very quirky, it's fun, but also quite deals with some heavier topics as well. I still really loved all the eccentricities of the world and the characters. A little bit less in this book than in some of the others. I think book 2 was my favourite of the series altogether, and yeah, I enjoyed it, but I want there to be a book 5 really. That's my conclusions. Even if it's a novella, just sort of continuing on, just seeing that end, what happened next after the ending of this kind of saga. I want to see the next one. So I've got 3 of the spin-off kind of books, so I don't know if any of those have anything in them. I've got a feeling they're like prequel stories rather than things that happen afterwards, but I will see what happens next if there is anything in any of those books. So I would give this 8.5 out of 10 for a story enjoyment rating, and a 1.5 out of 3 for Christian faith rating. There's kind of a faith element, but that kicks in mostly at the end. There is some faith throughout the series, which is to do with prayer and to do with a sort of allegory of Adam and Eve. But since other religions, also, other than Christianity, also have Adam and Eve, it didn't necessarily set it apart as being Christian. Whether I could call it specifically Christian, I think it could have been stronger. I think that could have been stronger, that motif throughout, and especially in the ending where it sort of goes for it, and then it isn't quite strong enough for me. It's partly why I wanted to see like an extra part to the story, where I think the allegory could have been continued and really brought home and brought to life. Yeah, it's hard to know how much to say without giving away stuff at the end, but for those of you who've read the book, you will know exactly what I'm talking about. And those who haven't, I thought I enjoyed the series a lot. But yeah, I would like a little bit more. I finished reading A Ranger's Guide to Glipwood Forest by Andrew Peterson. This is a very small book. It's like a spin-off from the Wing Feather saga. I would say this is a book for superfans. It is a kind of parody of a tour guide to one of the most dangerous forests in the world that is in the sagas. It is not the sort of book I would suggest buying if you have never read the Wing Feather saga. It's in of itself, it's kind of funny. There's funny bits in it, sort of eccentric bits in it. But it is just following a journey around, and it's like a parody of a traveller's guide to this place, whilst hearing some kind of bits of stories of this traveller who is travelling around. I would say, as a kind of spin-off thing, if you really love the world and you love the humour in it, then maybe it's one you might want to pick up. But if not, if you haven't read it and you haven't been into it that much, I think there isn't a lot of plot to the book. It's a parody kind of collector's book, and there isn't a lot of character development in there. So yeah, it was okay, but it was a little bit dull for me. I did enjoy still the eccentricness of the world and the humour that was there. But yeah, I'd say this is a collector's book for a super fan of the Wing Feather saga. So I would give it a 6.5 out of 10 for story enjoyment rating, and 0.5 out of 3 for Christian faith rating. As sort of one mention of something vaguely spiritual in there, but mostly it's just a clean book. I have finished listening to this was on Audible as an audiobook. It is the dramatised versions of the Chronicles of Narnia. So it's the complete Chronicles of Narnia. Goes right the way through all 7 books, from the magician's nephew at the beginning of Narnia to the last battle and the end of Narnia, and goes through all of those in chronological order. I really enjoyed getting back into the Chronicles of Narnia again. Very well-known stories to me, but this was not a well-known format for me. I have not listened to this one before, but I really enjoyed having it in a different form, especially some of the books that did not get a film. This kind of dramatized format, I find it like almost like a hybrid between an audiobook and a listening to a film, like a movie. So it's just kind of a script. You get the dialogue and you get the sound effects and the music as well. The music is a little bit of its time, of its era. I'm not quite sure when it was published, but it's a little bit synthesizer-y sometimes. But it's of its era. But I didn't mind it too much. I enjoyed the way that it had been dramatized. I thought they did a good job of they didn't have a narrator, so the characters are sort of describing what they're seeing and that kind of thing. And they slightly changed some of the plot order so that it stayed very dramatic, and it began with a bang and kind of carried on. And sometimes it was like cutting backwards and forwards between different times, like our country and Narnia, just to make it more interesting, which I think worked really well. Overall, I really enjoyed listening to them. It's quite a marathon, listening all the way through each one. I think it's about 15 hours long, so not like overly long for an audiobook, and each one is like maybe 2 hours 15 minutes long, so it's a bit like they're about a film length, movie length for each one. For me, as an adult listening to it, I found it quite entertaining, exciting, thrilling, and at times a little bit creepy. Some of them, like Silverchair, was quite creepy, and the last battle was very action-packed, dramatic, with violence and things going on there. So some of it might be a little bit too scary for some kids. I don't know if you've got kids and you're thinking of like listening to it with them. Just bear that in mind, and if they're particularly sensitive, I think if I'd have been a younger kid, I might have had nightmares after some of this. Hearing the voices it's different from like hearing somebody act it out. Is different from hearing somebody narrate it. They really went to town with the way that the voices were. So on the one hand, it's really, really fantastic to get that emotional engagement and stuff, but some of the listening to the enemies and the witches and the enchantresses and different people speaking is a little creepy at times, which made it much more exciting. Like the Silverchair, for instance, in the actual novel is a little bit slow paced at times, but the way they dramatized it was much more interesting, exciting, and hearing the enchantress lady in her voice and the way that she was portrayed quite evil, definitely was a little more scary than I would have liked as a kid, but as a teenager I probably would have enjoyed that one a lot. I will definitely be picking up some more dramatized versions of novels that I know. I think I've seen that they do the Jane Austen ones there, and so this is a kind of anniversary year for Jane Austen, so I might pick those up later on. Is it right? There's Jane Austen in July. I've never participated in it, but I've got a feeling that's it is Jane Austen in July, not Jane Austen in January or June. I think it was July. But yeah, probably later in the year I might have a go at those, because I think those are condensed to similar lengths, that sort of 2 to 2.5 hour lengths, the novels, and turned into radio plays. So I think they would be interesting to listen to. So I would give this one a 9 out of 10 for story enjoyment rating and 3 out of 3 for Christian faith rating. They always have a great amount of faith content in it. There's a few odd bits in the Narnia Chronicles where I don't know if I quite agree with C.S. Lewis on the theology, but that might just be coming across because it's an allegory, that maybe I'm reading different things into it than he intended. But that's just odd little things here and there. The majority of it, I really like the faith content in those books. I finished reading Pembrick's Creaturpedia. This is by Andrew Peterson, and this is a sort of another spin-off book from the Wing Feather saga. This is basically not really a story, it's a collection of different crazy creatures from the world, really, and it's like a encyclopedia. It's called a Creaturpedia of the different creatures that you might find. Not really any faith content in this particular spin-off book, and there's some just crazy illustrations. The humour is more prevalent in this one than in the Ranger's Guide to Glipwood Forest. For me, anyway, I found this one more amusing to read, and it was kind of amusing. It was light-hearted, so I would give it about 8 out of 10 for story enjoyment rating, and a 0 out of 3 for Christian faith rating. Sort of a clean book. It was a nice little spin-off book. I finished reading the Seaside Homecoming by Julie Klassen. This is book 3 in the On Devonshire Shores series. It is a sweet historical romance with some Christian elements to it. The series is following originally 4 sisters and their mum who have come to Sidmouth on the coast to, after their father had died, they had to retrench, as it were, and go and work in this house, which used to be their holiday home, I think, and they've turned it into a boarding house, a guest house on the sea at Sidmouth, and the series is following all the different sisters and their romances and their stories. And this third book is following the 5th sister, who we only hear about in books 1 and 2, and she is in Edinburgh, I think, to start with. She's in Scotland to start with, caring for her aunt, due to various circumstances which we learn about during books 1 and 2, so I don't want to spoil those books for you, but for reasons to do with something that's happened in the past, she's up there and is not really on speaking terms properly with her family, and her aunt dies and she's left to fend for herself, and so she decides to go and take up an offer at another boarding house in Sidmouth as a partner in that business. And so she finds herself there trying to re-establish a relationship with her family, and at the same time dealing with her past, dealing with past mistakes and different things that have happened, and getting to know her partner in this business, who is Mr. Hammond. Again, I don't want to say too much because I'm trying to think what's revealed through the book, but he has a daughter. He's a widower, and he has a daughter who has come from abroad and is living now there in Sidmouth. There's also some other characters who have other nationalities who are also involved in the story. Some side characters who have their own stories going on as well. Yeah, it's the majority of the book is a historical romance, character development, as well as family. I say family drama, but it's not like a soap opera kind of drama. It's gentle drama, shall we say? Family relationships and dealing with consequences of things from the past. I thought it was really sweet. I really liked the romance in it. I really enjoyed seeing Claire's story after hearing about her in the books 1 and 2. Enjoyed being back in Sidmouth again, which is, close to me and where I live, so very easy for me to picture it. I enjoy the Regency time period, and I'm really looking forward to the Christmas one, which I think will wrap up the whole story and finish off all 5 sisters' stories. So I'm really looking forward to. Yeah, I enjoyed this one a lot. Book 1 in the series was for me a bit slow the first half of it because we're introducing all the new characters, but then after that it's just been really, really good series. I would give this one 9 out of 10 for a story enjoyment rating. There is some Christian faith content in here. It is important to the story, and so I would give this 2.5 out of 3 for a Christian faith rating. I finished reading Where I Found You by Betsy St. Amant. This is Christian contemporary romance, and it does have a good amount of Christian content in it, which I really enjoyed. It's one of those Christian romance books that really suits my taste. It's sort of upbeat style. It has both romance, character development, secrets that get revealed, puzzle to work out, and a solid amount of Christian faith in there as well. So I appreciated all of those things in there together. Definitely kept my interest all the way through, both the kind of puzzle and the romance. It's following two characters who are like on opposing sides of this family feud that's been going on for generations. Noah and Alyssa, I think that's how you pronounce her name. Alyssa, and I guess childhood sweethearts, you might say. So they were teenagers. I think they might have been about 18. One summer they got together in a relationship. Then because of this feud, they got sort of chased apart, broken apart, and Noah went off and she didn't really see much of him. And so they kind of tried to get over each other. But then his grandfather has died and he's back trying to put together this inn that he's been left, and things are not going as planned. He needs more money, and then the solicitor says, well, you can have some more money, maybe there's something treasure there for you if you follow this treasure hunt. But in order to do it, he has to work with his ex, who is now sort of uncomfortable about him being around. She's there working in a cafe. She has needs for the money, which goes into at the beginning of the book, and we find out. And so they're having to work together on this treasure hunt that his grandfather, who's passed away, has left for them to follow. So you're following the clues and the puzzles. You're also working out what happened in the past and why things have gone wrong with them, but also with their families. There's tension between the families and also tension between them that they're having to work out. There is a faith journey of coming from a place of where they've sort of left faith and coming back to faith. They are exploring themes of forgiveness. There's a lot of emotional baggage to pick and go through as well. And it's also in a more sort of upbeat but not, depressing kind of story. And there's a lot of twists and turns in it. So all in all, I really enjoyed this one. This is the first book in a series, and I think the other books are coming out this year. At least 2 other books in this series. So I will be trying to pick those up at some point. It's published by Sunrise Publishing, which I'm not sure if it is a small house publisher or whether it is like a collection of indie publishers working together. But nevertheless, I would definitely pick up more books by this publisher because I'm encouraged by the amount of Christian faith that was in it, and it's definitely is a definite Christian fiction book, as opposed to one that is closer to the clean fiction. I mean, it is clean. In terms of content, there is kissing in there and making out, and it's descriptive kissing, if you know what I mean. But there isn't anything more steamy than that. I didn't find it too spicy, and it wasn't constant throughout the book. So there was a lot of other things mixed in as well. So yeah, for me it was a good mix. So I would give this book 9 out of 10 for story enjoyment rating and 3 out of 3 for Christian faith rating. Those were the books that I've read recently. I would love to hear your thoughts on those books and book reviews, and also which was your favourite book you've read recently. I hope this was helpful for you. I hope you are having a fantastic reading week. If you'd like to see more videos about Christian fiction, you can watch these videos over here. But in the meantime, I pray God bless you and your families. Have a great week. Bye!